here for folks like us. Wrong city, wrong people.
Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Aesop Grim here, and I just realized I have not recorded an episode for tomorrow yet. so I better get that done because it is 12:41 a.m. on the day that I'm supposed to have an episode ready to go, and I ain't got one, so this is it. I'm on my bank character right now. I just now scanned the bank with Auctionator, and I'm going to put these things here up for sale. My Draenei Shadow Priest is level 65, about 3/4 of the way through. And we're going to level up her enchanting now. I just got done questing, doing a bunch of questing. She has been leveling fast. My guide helps me quite a bit, but I've also put in quite a bit of time on this character. So it's been a lot of fun. Building something up. This, like most games with me, the early game is a lot of times where I have the most fun. And so I've been on this character a lot more than Trump Mugshot lately. And it's mostly because I just really enjoy this phase of the game. I'm getting her professions up. I'm going through the leveling process. Everything is about a sense of progression. It's all coming pretty quickly, and oh nice, we're gonna make some money here. And she gets invites as a shadow priest much faster than Trump does as a hunter. I considered whether or not it was the name. I've discarded that. There's just a lot of hunters sitting around and looking for group, and I have way more compliments than I do negative reactions for Trump, and it's been like that for quite a while. Only the first half year to maybe 3/4 of a year of making Trump. And I made Trump, let's see, my original Trump Mugshot character on the WoW SOD server was made in late November. I forget the year. I guess it would have been 2020, wouldn't it? 2020. Well, I can't. No, I think it was 2019. Yeah, it must have been 2019. Maybe it was a little bit earlier. I'm not sure. No, wait. No, this would have been post-2020. This would have been leading up to the 2024 election. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting lost in thought there. I made him in the late fall, late November, after he had been indicted and had the mugshot taken the previous summer. So that happened in July, I believe. So it was within a matter of months of that incident being very fresh. And so at that point in time, there were a lot of liberals that were 100% thinking this was it. We're going to get them. And a number of them actually thought I made that name as an anti-Trump position. I had to explain to them that I was pro-Trump, and I thought that this was the most insanely ridiculous move that they could have ever made, and they got mad about that. But at the most, about 3/4 of a year later, they all realized what a backlash that was. And by that point in time, I had already started receiving the hate whispers from the left. But by the time we were about 9 months past me making the character, they were so beaten down that they just didn't much talk about it at all. And all, I would say, just about the entire time leading up to that, I still received more positive comments than I did negative, and certainly from that point, the about 9 months after making the character onward, it's been consistently, if I get a comment at all, it's a positive one. So I don't think it has to do with the name. I think it has to do with the class. There's just a lot of hunters available, so Trump will wait significantly more time for an instance than Cancerella will. But anyway, thanks for going down memory lane with me. We will grab Cancerella here. She is level 65 now and has 362 spell damage. She was up at like 382. But there was some piece of gear here, and I forget what. It might have been this one. No. Yeah, it might have been this one. See how it improves spell crit strike? Well, it's got the 26 spell damage and healing up there. Now, there was some piece of gear I swapped out that I actually lost 20 spell power. But it was such a good piece of gear in other regards, and I don't remember what it was, that I felt like it was worth it. I still don't have an offhand. I might buy one, but I need to see... probably not. I need to see how expensive it's going to be to get my enchanting skilled up, because now my tailoring is up to 320 out of 375. I just made my first 2 netherweave bags. They are equipped here, so I was excited about that. That was just minutes ago. It's real nice. With Cancerella having tailoring, this is the first time I've noticed that netherweave cloth actually seems to drop slow. And it's because I've been waiting for it. Whereas on Trump, it just would build up, and I'd mail it to have it AH'd once I got to a certain point. So because I wasn't kind of, waiting on it and looking forward to getting it, I didn't notice how long it would take to build up. But, let's see, let's go to the bank first while I'm thinking about it and deposit this fishing pole, because I will be, or I intend to be leveling fishing and cooking at the same time here on Cancerella. That'll be next, but I want to get my primary professions done first. So, there you go. I'm gonna need to, I should have sold that arcane dust. I have some healing things here. These are bracers that are actually better than what I'm wearing, the netherweave bracers. Once I can make another netherweave piece, like netherweave boots, I'll probably equip those, because I want that 2-piece bonus of 23 additional spell power. We'll grab these. This is a cooking recipe right here.
For the Alliance.
Okay, so when it comes to enchanting, I'm at 290. I just reached 290. Frustratingly, I had to go sit in Darnassus forever and a day to get this recipe right here, and that's what I used to get from, I think it was 260 or 265 all the way to 290, and then I was broke after doing that from buying mats. So now I need to make a runed arcanite rod, which is expensive, but at least I got that recipe off of the vendor and didn't have to pay the scalper's price for it. So we're gonna get an arcanite rod. 46 gold, that's not bad. I think I saw these at 64 the other day. Maybe not, I don't know. We're gonna need a golden pearl. I've got 130 gold left. Oh, plus the another like 23 gold in the mail here from Aesop Mage. Okay, we're gonna grab this one right here. Got it. We're gonna need 8 more illusion dust. I must have spelled that wrong. I think I can just shift click it. Yep. It's 1S. Okay, I need 8 of them. So they're selling at a gold 6 if I scroll down until I get to multiples. 5 at a gold 6. Okay, well let's just go here. Oh, you know what? It is going to be cheaper to buy bulk. Okay. What's the price here? Gold 6, okay. 5 and gold 13. I guess I'll do it. Okay, that takes care of the illusion dust. I need 4 greater eternal essences. I have 8. I need a LBS. 2 of them, right? Yes. About 4 gold each. And then my runed true silver rod, which I already have. We're at 111 gold. Okay. 133 gold. So that gold that my mage just sent me pretty much paid for the runed arcanite rod. That's very nice. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we're gonna make 10 enchant cloak superior defense. I need to reference the video I've been using. I'll tell you the guy's name. I go to this video all the time. I wish he had stuff up for all of the professions because I think his videos are that good. I don't know if it's his presentation, his voice. He's real calm and to the point, so it makes it easy for me to follow. But let's go ahead and bring that up now. Go to YouTube, bring up my liked videos. Fastest way to level enchanting in TBC Classic 1 to 375 guide by Ben Eaton, E-A-T-O-N.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to the TBC.
So we're going to come up here. He has his chapter markers in too. That's nice. Okay, I'm at the part where I got to 290. There's the arcanite rod to take me to 291, and here it is, 291 to 300, so it's going to be 9 of them. And it is indeed enchant cloak superior defense. So that's going to cost 72 illusion dust. 8 times 9 is 72, right? I say many, many times I don't math well in public. Organize by buyout and move to the stacks of 20. 26 gold, wow. Almost 27. So that's 20, 40, 60. Ooh, it's hurting. I need 12 more, so back off, find 10 maybe. And then find 2. I am down to 38 gold, boys. That's a pretty heavy hit. Alright, let's see how this works. I can make exactly 9. What does this do for me anyway? 70 additional armor. $292. $293. $294. $295. $296. $297. $298. $299, and the big one, and it's still orange, so it's guaranteed. I think you are guaranteed all of orange and then your first 5 as a yellow. But bam, there it is. 300 of 300 in enchanting. This character has scaled up rapidly, I would say. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. This is as a Shadow Priest too. They are not the fastest levelers. So, going all the way back to my OG days, I just always enjoyed leveling characters. There is something almost Zen-like about the entire process. It just must really tick off a bunch of like a numerous areas in my brain, like feel-good areas that are tied to the sense of progression, I think. But also maybe the fact that it's methodical. There's a way to do it that makes it quick. I'm not wanting to talk to you. I came to the wrong place. I meant to go to the enchanter. So I don't know psychology well enough to map out my own brain as to why I'm enjoying something. I just know that it's been consistently true since almost day one, that I really thoroughly enjoy the leveling process in World of Warcraft. I don't even know how to put that, because sometimes leveling is a pain in the neck and I don't enjoy it, and yet somehow I do. It's like the process itself might make me frustrated sometimes, but the results of the process are extremely rewarding. Oh my gosh, guys, I watched a Benny Johnson video. I didn't know that they did this. I guess, you know, there's a bunch of memes out there about the Ayatollah and like a cardboard Ayatollah and stuff, and I watched a video by Benny Johnson that was covering all the memes being put out, so he of course kind of gave me the reason that was being done. I was confused because I was seeing these memes and I'm like somebody showed a picture of stacked cardboard that it was all tied together, and I was like, I do not understand what's going on. And then I watched this video and he explained how they had basically crowned.
See you around.
It looked to me almost like those poster boards that you see college teams use to call their plays, to send their play signals in. It was like a rudimentary cutout and a rudimentary human shape of cardboard that they took, like a Xeroxed copy, something you'd get at Kinko's, of the former Ayatollah or whatever, the former Khomeini. I don't know all the titles. The former Khomeini's like second or third son that has now been made the new leader, attached to it, and the head was really big and the proportions didn't match. And they did what looked like a game show skit. It looked like an SNL skit where they brought him on stage. The dude like kissed him on the shoulder and they announced him as their leader. The reason the real dude couldn't be there, we think, is because he's really seriously injured and dying. And so we're going to train all of this just to get that done and out of the way. But some of the memes that are made of this, just mocking these people. Now, mind you, we're not mocking the Iranians. We're for the Iranians. We are mocking this authoritarian government. And man, it was really funny. Prior to that, just a few days earlier, the mood was completely different for me. I watched another of Benny Johnson's videos covering some of the weaponry that we're seeing used in Iran that, like, we haven't been fully briefed on what this stuff is or what it does. We think some of it at least knocks out entire power grids, but it looks like dropping, like there's a couple different versions. There's like one version looks like we're dropping a mini sun right into a compound and it just lava burns everything. And then another one, there's a few variations of this one, but it's like the entire sky lights up like lightning, and then all of a sudden there's like a big flash that turns nighttime into daytime, and then it's gone, and then the whole power grid is out. And these things are like, I mean, you're seeing the entire stratosphere light up, like clouds, whole cloud. It looks like a thunderstorm, but we're making it happen, right? And we're striking targets with this. The best picture I saw for that one was somebody did a really, really, really good mock poster, like a movie poster, advertising Steven Spielberg's 1980s movie, 80s era movie, I think it was 80s, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And it said 2026 version. Like they used the fonts, they put everything in there that you would see on a movie poster. The little scripting at the bottom that gives credits for who all's in it. The director, you have some names that are in very light, thin font, and some names that are a more bold and larger text. And then you have the PG-13 on there. It looked like a real advertisement for that movie, but it was a picture of Farging Tehran with the whole sky lit up in this beam of light shining down from space. That's kind of frightening when you don't know what you're dealing. We're like, that's a real world photo. We're not dealing with sci-fi anymore. That was real. And so I would like details. What is going on here? But I don't want to give up state secrets. I don't like that term, state secrets. That sounds like a communist authoritarian regime. I don't want to give up national security interests, classified materials. So if they got to stay mum on that for a while, then more power, do it. Let all these other nations try and start from scratch, figuring out what's happened before we just let them, give them breadcrumbs to help them steal our technology faster, because that's how everybody's going to get it. They're going to come over here, they're going to bribe people, we're going to have sellouts that we need to execute by hanging. And they're going to infiltrate their own people, that the governing officials that allowed them into these places should be hung. That's just how it's going to go. You already know. And hopefully it'll happen over a long period of time, but who knows. We got a lot of cleanup on aisle 6, aisle America, you know. Okay, I've got 3 scoops of Bunny Tracks ice cream here. I'm going to put you on pause, guys, while I go put my ice cream back into the freezer. I had to actually bring it out here into my room where my computer just makes things a little bit warmer and let that ice cream thaw so that I could scoop it out. I will be right back. Okay. Well, I just finished up my ice cream. And I made my way out here to honor hold while I did that. And I actually just trained a new tailoring recipe. It's this one here. So once I can make this, how do they compare to what I'm wearing? Yeah, I don't really want to replace these. 30 stamina is a lot. I would rather replace with the boots because I have fairly weak boots. Well, they're not terrible, but yeah. Anyway, I think I'd like to keep this, but we'll swap in some better bracers once I can make the boots, I think. For now...
How are you?
Oh, I have to shift click him.
Hello?
Or do I just left click?
See you around. Good day to you.
No, shift right click. And this is what we're going to train. So, a runed fell rod. That will probably be expensive. Well, yeah. Yeah, that'll be expensive. And then Nexus transformation transforms a Nexus crystal into a small prismatic shard. Okay. Restore mana prime. Grant 6 mana every 5 seconds. That seems pretty nice. For leveling purposes. Okay. Well, I'm going to train as much as I can. There we go. We got all of them.
Safe travels.
So I can now go to 375. Okay, great. And we can already get 3 points. I'm not going to do it right now, though. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to fly to Shatrath and deposit my enchanting materials into the bank. One of these days, man, one of these days I have got to give herbalism and alchemy a shot on like a foundational character like what I have, to see if that's better than enchanting and tailoring for supporting the character and making gold. Now, let's see. Okay, we're at about the 30-minute mark, so...
Great to meet you. Off with you.
Let's see, what did Turley discuss today? It was, Iran hit... They closed the Strait of Hormuz and went and warned the world, if anybody tries to send their shipping through here without our okay first, we will sink that vessel. So, you know, for their part, they did what they're supposed to do. They gave notice. They claim to have control over that. Well, of course, they're getting shellacked right now by the U.S., so it's going to be really hard to keep that promise. But they tried. They hit what was that country? They hit a civilian ship from Thailand, I think it was. It was on fire. We don't really know any other status than that. Hopefully everybody on board is okay, but it did get hit and it was on fire. I think they hit several other ships as well. There is currently a warning that Iran is planning on drone striking California. So the IRGC is still trying to do whatever it can to cause public sentiment to turn against this war and therefore turn off the warfighting capabilities of the U.S. I was talking to my dad earlier today, and we were discussing some of the strategies at play, and I had mentioned how when it comes to the Middle East, they figured out a really long time ago, and it took them a little while to figure it out, that when it comes to Western democratic nations, what you want to do is you want to make the war unpopular with the people, and then the people will apply pressure to the government. Now, for most of these, or a number of these Middle Eastern nations, that's not really implicitly understood. It's not natural to them, because they run different governmental styles where they don't care what their people think. Not nearly as much as Western nations do, where it's like a core piece of how the government works. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the word. So anyway, that just seems to be the general tactic from Middle Eastern nations when it comes to that is a part of the warfare. Makes sense to me. I'm not knocking anybody or saying anything. That you have to understand how your enemy works and then deconstruct them, right? And so they do. They have, and I think that they learned some of that with their struggles against Israel, because Israel, a lot of what Israel does aligns with Western civilization ethics. I mean, if you want to be frank about it, if you trace the history of Western civilization all the way back, you're going to land at two major foundational stones: ancient Greece and Hebraic Israel, Hebrew culture. Pentateuch, and later biblical. And I say that because even though a religious Jewish person does not believe in the Bible at all, it was still written by Jews who do believe in the Bible, and Jews who also believed in the Pentateuch. And so although a Jewish religious person would disagree with me on this, the two agree with one another. And so at the very least, you could say that there are many, many, many strong parallels, so that culturally they are, without a doubt, a foundational underpinning of Western civilization. It's those two things. It's ancient Greece, or what we might call Koine Greek. It's the Alexandrian Greek that got spread across a large part of the world. And it is Hebrew culture, Jewish culture. And then those two things, well, really more Grecian, not so much Israeli until much, much later when it was converted. But Roman Empire, of course, is going to play a big role in that too. I didn't miss them. The Roman Empire is an amalgamation. Like I heard a preacher say one time, this preacher was a former professor at King's College, and before he converted to Christianity, and then he became a famous preacher. His name was Derek Prince, and he said that Rome conquered Greece militarily, but Greece conquered Rome philosophically. So Rome is not the foundation. Rome is an outgrowth of Grecian philosophical approaches to life. And it wasn't Rome that invented our way of government. Socrates wrote the Republic. Rome fastened onto that and expanded on it. I mean, to my knowledge, I'm not an expert on these things. I've listened to a lot of documentaries on this stuff. So if a scholar were to correct me, I would receive the correction. But I think I'm in the ballpark. I may not be phrasing it in the technical, in some of the corrections, but there is a connection here, is what I'm getting at. Let's see, what are we going to go do? Talk to Private Weeks. Okay, let's go ahead and go do some questing. We're at 36 minutes. Yeah, so, anyway. What was I saying about that? I forgot what my whole point was. But I was talking about Iran was striking out, lashing out. And so CENTCOM responded, like I guess they were laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz also. So CENTCOM responded by sinking 16 of their mining ships before they even left harbor. We turned it all into scrap heap. So that's happening. I mean, it sure seems to me like the plan against the IRGC is a very thorough one. I mean, in the first 5 days, guys, we took away their warfighting capability. Within 50 hours, we had killed their leader. That's a leap forward, man. Turley did a video today where he was talking about it took us, I think he said it took us 2 years to kill Hitler. He must have been referencing America. Oh boy. 9 months to find and kill Saddam Hussein. There was the guy in charge of Bosnia. That took a couple years. Maybe Hitler was 4 years and that guy was 2 years. And then you get to Ayatollah Khamenei, Ali Khamenei, and it took us 50 hours. That's jeez. You know? I mean, wow. And within 5 days, Iranian launch capability had dropped from 375 some odd missiles a day to like 30? I don't know, it was something like a 90% reduction. Alright, we're looking for these shadowy people. Do I need you? Probably. Spawn wood mites. Okay. Oh, like these. Okay. I don't want to do one of those right next to where he was doing stuff because we might steal from each other and it just creates animosity. So anyway, yeah, the U.S. response was basically thou shalt not without heavy repercussion. Okay, so 1 dot, 2 dots, debuff. I don't think it took. Shield up. I forgot what that spell is called. It's a major foundational spell. Mind Flay. And you can see down here that I am now generating mana, and that's because we have become a mana battery. I've got this right here, Vampiric Touch. Causes 495 shadow damage over 15 seconds, so it's a dot. That's my second dot. To your target, and causes all party members to gain mana equal to 5% of any shadow spell damage you deal. So, I usually lead with that because I don't know if it is backwards compatible. Like, I doubt it. If I put Shadow Word Pain on a target and then I follow it up with Vampiric Embrace, I don't think the Shadow Word Pain is delivering that 5% mana back to me. I'm not quite sure if anything put on before that Vampiric Embrace counts. I don't know. I find now all of a sudden in my mind I can make the case for both. So there's that. There's that. That. So in this case I put Pain up first. Watch down here. You can see what Vampiric Embrace and Vampiric Touch are doing for me. So 161, 146 mana per second. I also have this guy right here. Restores 200 mana when you kill a target that gives experience or honor. This effect cannot occur more than once every 10 seconds. So let's try this. Wow, I didn't know she was that easy to kill, or I would have kind of gone after her right away. Okay. Let's get this one. Vampiric Touch, Shadow Word Pain, Vampiric Embrace. Pain. Touch, Embrace, Shield Up, Blast, Flay. Oh, Execute. Wasn't counting on that one. I almost had her. She was one tick away, or one wand hit. And I really could have gone ham and just gotten both of them killed quicker than what I did, but I was trying to conserve mana. I thought I had time. So you can see on my mouse over target that shows up over here the debuffs that I'm applying. Let's take helmet off because I like her haircut. I think she looks good as a character. She's maybe not the best looking character that I've got. My Blood Elf Mage looks pretty good, I think. But some of her unique qualities, and I love her little Russian voice, or I don't know if it's Russian, but like Eastern European. But I do like this character. Looks good. I like Trump mugshot too. In my opinion, the orcs have some of the best dances, both male and female. Am I under attack already? She can't execute now because I'm not low enough in health, so that time I did have time. So we will mana up. Oh, yeah, because I'm drinking. Okay. So let me mouse over. See, it shows up right here. And that's where, on the top of that bar, that's where you will see what debuffs I have. I probably should make it so that it shows up on my target bar. Maybe I can do that right now. Is it easy? Target. Would it be auras? Debuffs. Filter. Show your auras. Let me just try enabling it and see what that does. Well, let's see what the default looks like first. Alright, let's get this person right here. Never mind, let's get a melee. Okay. Touch, pain, embrace, shield up. Doggone it. What the deuce, man? That just seems bizarre. That's been happening to me all day long. People just spawn right on top of me in a blind spot, you know? I probably could have won that matchup, but I'm trying to check something out. It's just effing annoying. Okay. Oh, frick. Didn't see you. Touch. Pain. Embrace. Shield up. Blast. Flay twice. And don't even need to blast again. I could Shadow Word Death right here. 281 DPS. And then you can look down here and see the hit points and the mana points that I'm getting back. Oh, so because I'm at rest, this is just my natural MP with any MP5 that I have. Okay, that's not bad. Where's that dude at? Let's get, let's start with you. Okay. Touch. Shield up. Pain. Embrace. Blast. Flay. Flay. Death. 245 DPS. Down goes Frazier. I'm not seeing them show up here. Oh, it's showing up over here. Yeah, that's right. I don't know what I was thinking. That's always been the case for me. That's how I have it set up. That comes from, I forgot what the nameplate add-on I use is. Now I'm curious. Plater. Yeah. That's the one. Oh, this guy I'm gonna need. So we're doing 40 hit points, 184. 15 mana per second, 25. So, you know, it spikes. It depends on whether or not my dots are pulsing whenever it counts or not. But this has been fantastic for my leveling experience. I'm here to kill. We're just gonna let this one die. I'll wander down. And then that way I can make a little bit more mana back. Hopefully you can watch this and see my trinket. It just jumped forward. That was that 200 mana return. There's that rogue. Okay, this rogue is going quick. I need to drink. Do I need to click these? No. Nice. she builds up combo points fast. Ooh, that was retarded. Okay, I effed that up pretty bad. Went after the sapped target. Didn't realize what the rogue was doing. I don't really know if I needed those people. I don't see anything. Maybe there's another quest on here that it'll count for, but I'm supposed to be getting these shadowy people. Oh, maybe I'm supposed to be talking to her. Oh, yeah, I am. Crap. I feel retarded. Oops. Well, it says talk to him. I don't really know how to talk to you, brother. Couldn't quite get the shield up in time. think I'm about to tell this rogue thanks for the party, but I'm done. And it's nothing against the rogue, it's just I need to figure out what the heck I'm doing. I don't... Cabal Skirmisher... Warped Peon... Stolen Goods... I still need Urdrak. I think I missed him. Attempt to purify... Darkstone... of Tarek... Woodmite, Bone Lasher, and then this one here, who are they? While in disguise, speak with the shadowy initiate. Okay, how do I get disguised? How do I get into this place, man? I don't know who they are, but I know they're hostile. I'm going to give you a disguise. And I want you to go in there and speak with 3 of them that I've observed as being chatty. Talk with the initiate, the laborer, and the advisor. Okay. So I'm just thanking them for group, because he noticed I wasn't on Kill Quest, and I thought that I was, because I could have sworn I had seen numbers, like whenever I moused over them, 0 of 12 or something like that, but I guess I had not. I must be mistaken on that. So what I need to do... channels the light into the dark. I need to find out, where do I get this disguise from? I'm going to give you a disguise, and I want you to go in there and speak with 3 of them, okay? Just watch out. There's a few hunters in there who'll be able to see through your disguise, and they look tough. And whatever you do, don't leave the village. The disguise is kind of flimsy. If you lose your disguise, come back to me and I'll give you another. So that's what I'm going to have to do. Oh, here, we should pop that spirit scroll and then go and talk with this guy again and get his disguise. Which one of you is it?
Must not give up. So long. I've been expecting you.
Well, which one of you effers hands out the disguise? It's not this kid, is it? Ethan... Ah, shiznit, it's the private. Private Weeks. That complicates things. Where are you, Private Weeks? Cabal Skirmisher. Right here, I think. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I knew that he was up in the green area. He's at a tree. Oh, we're over an hour. Okay, well, let's try and get this quest done. And then we'll wrap up the episode, and I can convert it to MP4 real quick. And, uh-oh, that's the Horde version. I might not be able to do this, guys. That's, let's see, she's right outside of Stonebreaker Hold, right? So, I would imagine that Private Weeks is over here outside of Valerian Hold. We're kind of working on a mystery here. Guys, have you seen the precipitous just falling away of the trans narrative this past year or so? Here recently, I guess a poll came out that showed the number of young people identifying as trans or non-binary has completely collapsed. Something like 70% drop or something. And we got entire nation states rolling back gender-affirming care because the evidence is overwhelming that it does more harm than good. And the reason for that is everything you would expect it to be. It's because most kids are not trans. I mean, I don't think any kids are trans. I think that's all BS. But let's give the benefit of the doubt. The amount of people that are gay, any kind of homosexual at all, whatever spectrum you want to apply there, is about 2% of the worldwide population, and it's been that way for eons. So this stuff is all it's social contagion. That's the best way I've heard it described. It is people who have an agenda that hate being in the minority, and wish, for various reasons, wish desperately that more people were part of their clique. That's been my experience with the gay community. There's like a deep craving for there to be for gay to be like the mainline thing. And I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think it has to do with a lot of these people being kind of either very outgoing and extroverted, so nothing to do with their sexuality and everything to do with the fact that they love to have friends and people around them and like-minded individuals, or severe hurt where they need to belong to a group that cares and loves and shows empathy to them because they're in a really bad spot. And that's why I think that the inflation numbers that we've seen for LGBTQ the past, I don't know, couple decades as things have ramped up has a lot more to do with people who are not actually gay. They are seeking connection. I just kind of think that's what it is. I think it's something along those lines. This is why I hate gender-affirming care. We have general psychology. We have centuries of scientific thought and philosophy applied to find out what is going on with people emotionally, and it typically has to do with the quality of their relationships, past trauma, past relational trauma, and their relationship with authority figures. That's 90%. And gender-affirming care throws all of that out the door and says, let's skip by investigating every ounce of that and go straight to you have gender dysphoria, and let's put you on HRT medications that mess up your brain waves. There's evidence that shows whenever you disrupt the maturation process during puberty, you do irrecoverable, irreparable harm. It goes directly against their narrative that they say, hey, you can try it, and if it doesn't work for you, you can come off of it later, and you don't have any problems at all. Baloney, baloney, baloney. You're a bunch of liars. And or you've taken in the propaganda. Let me not accuse everybody of being a liar. Some people genuinely believe that because they've been told to. They've been shown some sort of arguments that make it sound nice, and the most important factor, they want to believe it. That's the biggest thing. People believe what they want to believe. If they want to believe it, and you can give them a halfway decent sounding argument, even if you just use a bunch of big words and talk circles, they'll be all for it, right? But the people who know what they're doing, that's scum of the earth territory. Scum of the earth. The Iranians that just wiped out, the Iranian IRGC that just wiped out 40,000 of their own people in 3 weeks are better people than you are. That's disgusting. So all of that, it's just really nice to see all of that really fading away. The younger generation, just the huge backlash. And you can see which side is winning over time. Over time, you can see which direction this is all sliding and how society feels about this stuff. And it's been pretty fantastic. I just brought up an internet page to find out. Let's see, WoW, TBC, private, weeks, location. Because it took me to the Horde. Alright, his location says it's at 4036, which is a little bit north of where that. Here's the Horde one. It's at 3943. This says it's 40 what? 4036. Let me double check that. Yeah. So 38, 39, 40. Yeah, okay, right. This area right here, 61 plus. So let's go this way. I didn't expect to get this hung up after I've been leveling fast, guys. I've been steamrolling through stuff, but it seems like every time I record, I get stonewalled by something. And so it's hard to level fast. But that's okay, because every time I record, I get to talk about things that I think are pretty awesome and amazing going on in the world, or at the very least interesting. I have been listening to a lot lately on the French Revolution and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. And boy, the French Revolution just has a lot of frightening things about it. Not only the actual actions taken, but the philosophical thought behind it. A lot of people look at it as a triumph in history, because I found out that an absolute boatload of Marxist ideology is rooted in what happened with the French Revolution. So they see it all as being exceptionally heroic, which doesn't surprise me, I suppose. It's the rejection of God, the rejection of traditional institutions, and the embracing of class warfare. This is where they got all of their class warfare ideas. And the downtrodden and poor against the elitists. But my goodness, you look at the French Revolution and you see what it descended into. Not just the horror and the brutality and the mass murder, but the audaciousness and the mockery of logic, even the inconsistencies in their own ideals. And then you look at Marxism and see the same exact thing, and it's like, wow, this stuff is all straight out of the pit of hell. So I had never known that before, but once I learned that in a documentary I was listening to, how Karl Marx was heavily influenced, and the vast majority of Marxist thought leaders spend a lot of time studying the French Revolution.
Greetings.
There we go. Okay, so now what? It says go this way. Okay, so how are we going to get up there? This way? Okay, gotcha. So I was at the wrong camp as a whole, I think. Shadowy executioner. So I want to stay away from hunters. What are you? Executioner. Summoner. Executioner. Minion, what are you? Executioner. Okay. Well, it says I need to go into here. I haven't run into any hunters yet. Forget about it. That was pretty good. Okay. Okay, I gotta talk to you. That's one. Initiate. Okay. There's two of the three. What are we looking for now? The laborer. This looks like trouble. Yeah, hunter. Okay. Summoner. Hunter. 93 yards. This guy right here. Okay, what now? Turn it in. So that's been a really, really good feel-good moment right there. To see kids getting rescued from this poison in the well ideology, social contagion. And not only that, but to see that that the kids themselves can see through this. You know, I don't have a lot of contact with Gen Z or Gen Alpha anymore, but I have some through my nephew. And then, of course, there's the stuff I read on the internet, but the internet is not a good reflection of real life, you know. You have to really kind of develop a feel for whether whether something is true or not by how many vectors are you hearing it from, and how persistent does it stay. I don't know, everybody's got their own way, but at any rate, I do know that there's sort of this split in I want to say Gen Z, but it could be that it's Gen Alpha. I think it's Gen Z still, and that are in high school. Like they're branching. They're in high school and college. And even adults, because I went to college with Gen Z, and that was a while ago. So yeah, you know, it's hard for me to know exactly where we're at now. Gen Alpha's coming up quick. But at any rate, I think I am talking about Gen Z when I think about my nephew who is about to graduate high school. And they've been arguing with each other since at least middle school. You can split it almost right down the gender line. Females are overwhelmingly... You know what? You know what I think you can even split it up by? You could even say the effeminate, because that's going to include liberal boys who are either gay, or they're femboys, or they're just regular liberal guys that call themselves feminists, but they're more effeminate than your typical fella is. And so you can kind of split the line right there between the effeminate and the masculine. And the masculine have been rejecting this nonsense. There was just an article released. Let me mention this. I'm going to read this article to you. It was I thought it was pretty good, because what is going on is that you have liberals out there who are in the media that they're under this impression. It's called progressive realism. They are under this impression that the arc of history bends in their direction, and so that they are constantly proven right over a period of time, and that as a result of that, the proof stacks up in their favor, and more people over the course of history swing in their direction. So they think that they have the numbers, that they are radically out of touch with reality. They do not. They're in the minority, and so they are stunned about what's going on particularly with Gen Z boys, and why they're rejecting these sorts of things. And I think that it can be fairly well summed up. Hold on, we're gonna have to do some fighting here. Oh, this guy's tough as nails. He was really not taking very much damage at all. Let's see, is there a safe way for me to navigate through all this? I got caught in this with my hunter before too, and you're just constantly running until you die. Maybe I can take you down. F. It's just ad after ad after ad, right? So maybe we can get out of here with our lives. Took my whole mana bar, but did it. So we're gonna run up here so that we're safe. I'm gonna read this article to you, but let me tell you, let me finish my thought on that first. So I think the reason this is happening and why you can split it down the middle between girls and boys, you know, broadly speaking, is that now this might sound like I'm kind of shitting on women, and I don't mean for it to sound that way at all. I just mean men and women are different. We're built different. You can think of it as being built and designed to address different problems. So what women are good at is no less important than what men are good at, and it's all required. This is why we're puzzle pieces. This is why we fit together. This is why you've had generations and generations and generations of families being sewn together. This is why the Bible mentions things like a man will leave his family and cleave to his wife, is because they're both really important, vitally so, very critically important. Okay, but there are definite areas, broadly speaking, there's always exceptions, that one gender outperforms the other. And when it comes to boys, they are, I heard one feminist say one time that men are easy to get, hard to control. Now this is a feminist. This was a feminazi, right? This is a woman who believes men are slaves. This is a woman who believes in seducing and bringing under power and sway and controlling and breaking a man through mental, psychological and emotional manipulation, right? That's what kind of, she's a feminazi. And that's what she said. Men are easy to get and hard to control. Okay, well, you go down into the education level, which has traditionally been a lot more female teachers, and you have boys and you have girls. And girls are by far, just by their nature, far more obedient and complicit. They are cooperative. They tend to believe you. They do what you want them to do. They do what you tell them to do. And not all of that is just because of naivety and that they trust you. A lot of it is to keep the peace. They are like engineered from the inside out to gravitate towards these kinds of things. And that makes sense, because what are boys engineered for? What are boys designed for, broadly speaking? The war. They will fight. A boy is designed to observe the world, separate his emotions from it, use his brain and his logic to analyze things in a cold, detached way that has nothing to do with the way that he wishes things were and has everything to do with the way they are. To come up with an assessment and a conclusion and a plan of action, and then to hold his line against everything and everyone. This is why boys are tougher to control in school than girls. This is why they are in the principal's office more often for fighting or arguing or acting out, right? Not that girls aren't in the principal's office also, but they're in there for different reasons, broadly speaking. And it's why during COVID, men disproportionately outweighed women, heavily so, in the rejection of that scam, whereas women went right along with it and were actually some of the most vociferous and fearful ones out there, screaming for some of the most draconian things I've ever heard of. Oh my gosh, take their kids away from them. They're unfit. They're gonna kill us all. Get vaxxed. This was the rise of the term Karen. You know, so I think that is part of the reason why you have this split, is that Gen Z boys have been looking at I think it started with them looking at their older brothers and sisters, the millennials. Now Gen Z is they've had the most indoctrination thrown at them of any generation in American history, in my opinion. But they've rejected a lot of it. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Gen Z is, this is not my opinion. This is known. Gen Z is the first generation in 70 years of American history that was not more liberal than the generation before them. It doesn't mean that they're MAGA strong conservatives. It means that they are less liberal. They looked at what millennials did and said, that is insane. I'm going the other way. But the ones who are indoctrinated have gone so far left that even millennials are stunned with some of the philosophies that they're embracing. But the boys have been fighting this war for a long time, and they've rejected a lot of what the left has to say and offer, and particularly in the areas of feminist thought or safety. You know, anytime you hear safe spaces, this is all, that's feminine philosophy. I'm not putting in a right or a wrong on that, because again, both are needed, but you don't want to construct an entire society based on safety. And the reason is for the same reason that you don't want to construct an army based on safety. The world is inherently a dangerous, lethal place. You have to take educated risks. And you have to have the balls to do it, for lack of a better word. Kind of like a little bit of pun intended there, right? And a feminine safety-first approach is going to lose the war. Your society will become nonsensical and be absolutely ripe for being taken over by authoritarians. This is exactly how you lose civilization, lose society, lose liberty and freedom and individuality, is by leaning into collective cooperation, suicidal empathy, and a safety-first approach. So see, this is why I wanted to pre-warn you. I'm not crapping all over women, but these are hard-hitting areas that if you have a feminine way of thinking leading the philosophy of an entire social structure up against the trials and travails of reality, then our ship is sunk. We are done in this kind of an area. So Gen Z boys have been looking at this and being like, absolutely not. I reject that completely. They reject a lot of the racial claims. They are noticing that it seems like the only race that it's still okay to be racist against is white straight males, and they don't like it. And they don't want to have any part of it. They're checking out of society. They're not participating anymore. The dating struggles are pretty catastrophic, as I understand it. You have this idea about, what is it? The male loneliness epidemic. Number one, no dude I've ever known really uses the term lonely very much. Even if they are lonely, they don't construct it in their mind that way. That's not how a man thinks. We would use some sort of different word, like I don't even think we would understand necessarily that we're lonely. We would think in terms of we're bored, we're frustrated, stuff like that. I am telling you right here, right now, without having proof. I'm laying it down as I'm making a truth claim here. Male loneliness epidemic is a catchphrase that was somewhere, sometime, invented by a woman, loaded completely with projection based on her own worldview and how she sees the world, thinking, of course, this is how everybody thinks. No, honey, it's not. It's how you think. And then picked up and made viral by other women who were noticing absolute catastrophes unfolding in the dating scene and how a lot of men had checked out and trying to find some sort of an excuse or an explanation or a reason. And I'm sorry to say, but broadly speaking, women don't accept accountability very well. They tend to blame. And to me, that's okay, because a woman is sort of, again, I think designed, because I believe in God, to seek safety from a protector. And even if you were to look at it from an evolution standpoint, to find the strongest male that could protect the nest so that she can fulfill her lifelong specialty of producing children, right? So even from an evolutionary perspective, I think we have this notion that women seek a provider and somebody who can provide security, not just a provider in terms of home and hearth and food on the table, but somebody who can fight evil and defend her and the kids. And so then, if that's the case, and if that's how women are built and made, you're talking about an awful lot of responsibilities there on the man that she accepts. And so I think they are predispositioned to say, hey, there's something wrong here, and it's kind of like it's your fault. Go fix it. Go take care of this. So that's not a world that dudes grow up in. Dudes grow up in the opposite. Dudes are raised from a very, very early age of accountability and don't give me your crybaby reasons, because the world's not going to accept that. I don't care if things are unfair. Don't be a bitch. Get out there and take care of it. Wipe those tears off your cheek. Go handle it, and don't come back here until it's done. And there's a reason why fathers raise their children with that kind of harshness. It's because they need the training. They need it. They do not have the support structure or the empathy or the sympathy that women get. And there's a reason for that, right? So let's go ahead, and I put this onto my my Facebook page. So I know I've talked a lot, but that was a lot of preamble, but these are the kinds of things I find fascinating. I don't know that I'm right on all of this, but I think I'm in the ballpark. Okay. So this was my little blurb that I put here, and then I'll give you the title of the article and we'll read it real quick. It's a fast read. So my blurb says, well, I guess I should start with the title. Woke media struggles to explain why Gen Z men are turning against feminism. This is by ZeroHedge.com. And I wrote in my Facebook post, I'd guess for the same reason they refused the COVID hoax at a much higher percentage than Gen Z girls. One, boys are not nearly as complicit as girls and therefore resist the propaganda. Two, boys don't mind standing their ground against others even if it means being disliked. And three, boys can separate their logic from their emotions and better analyze the realities of a situation regardless of peer pressure or personal desires. Now, is that true across the board? Is that a universal truth? No, it's not. You have exceptions to the rule, but in general, that tends to be how it goes. So, let me go ahead and bring that article up. Okay, this is by Tyler Durden, written on March 10th of 2026. The progressive left operates on the assumption that generational indoctrination is cumulative. That is to say, they think through time and indoctrination they will eventually lay claim to the minds of 100% of the population. Each new generation is supposed to be more woke than the last. However, this is not how society or individual psychology works. Movements of quote-unquote progress crash in flames all the time, often because they turn out to be regressive rather than progressive. That's absolutely true. The progressive left is a complete misnomer, as many things on the left are. The way these people bastardize language is shocking. But they are not progressive, they are regressive. And once the smoke clears and the social experiment is dead, the public will usually go back to what worked best in the past. Leftists thought they had the future in the bag with Gen Z. After all, this is the generation hit hardest with woke propaganda. No other generation has been so overwhelmed with LGBT brainwashing, anti-white racism and multiculturalism, socialist utopian fantasy, moral relativism, and anti-masculinity. Young women have been convinced that abandoning femininity, rejecting their biological destiny, and competing with men is quote-unquote true freedom. Third-wave feminism teaches women that their ultimate goal in life is to achieve power by any means necessary. It's a dangerous delusion that relies on men to remain completely and utterly passive. Let's read that last line again, because this is how Marxism works, and this is how feminism works. Marxism works, and it cannot defeat you straight up. It is not good at a phone booth fight where it's mano-a-mano. Marxism, they're not gorillas, they're spiders. They have to beat you with deceit. They have to beat you with demoralization, because the reality is that they can't defeat you at all. They need you to defeat yourself. So they are very good at using social traps and social conditioning to foster a false sense that you are cut off and alone by yourself and without hope, so that you become demoralized. That's how Marxism works. And a lot of that can be paralleled over to feminism. Feminism cannot overcome masculinity. It just can't. Masculinity is just too powerful. When a woman tries to go and pick a fight with a dude, if she is not echelons, orders of magnitude better trained and in better shape, she's about to find out. We had the women's Olympic soccer team from a few years ago that was one of the best teams on the planet. It wasn't just a moment. They were also winning all of their other I don't know what to call them, but like meets that were not Olympic, but they're like regional, or international. They were winning those also. They were as dominant of a team as we've seen in female sports. And they played I think this was in Dallas, Texas. They played a team for like a skirmish, for like a warm-up, a practice. They played a team of high school boys, 15 and 16-year-olds, and got the shit kicked out of them. I don't mean they barely lost. They got obliterated by boys, not even men. Little boys. right? So feminism has to psychologically trick and get the guy to comply and cede authority himself. She cannot take it by force. She has to hoodwink him or seduce him into giving it. So let's read that sentence again. It's a dangerous delusion that relies on men to remain completely and utterly passive. So he's setting up why this failed. That's a crazy strategy. Third wave feminism teaches women that their ultimate goal in life is to achieve power by any means necessary. It's a dangerous delusion that relies on men to remain completely and utterly passive. Well, that's about retarded. It's going to be really hard to rely on the whole of the manosphere, so to speak, to remain utterly passive. Gen Z men have been taught from an early age that they are inherently evil monsters that must be subdued and caged, figuratively or literally. They are warned that they will become incels, dangerous landmines just waiting to explode unless they embrace feminism. They are conditioned to see traditional manhood as a social construct that will ultimately end in a bullet-riddled reign of toxic masculinity. They are told that the very root of their future happiness and sanity depends on leftist women accepting them as viable, docile, and quote-unquote safe. What a crock of crap. This flies in the face of what the Bible says. The Bible says there's going to come a time that women will beg a man to give her his last name. And that she will it's not just like an individual woman will beg. I mean, it says 7 women will go to one man and beg him to give them his name, that they will cook their own food and take care, they will provide for themselves. He doesn't have to do a single thing. He just needs to give them their name. Now, I don't know what the circumstances and conditions that are going to lead to that are, but I know it has something to do with the millennia-long male-female relationship dynamic. Women right now are trying to found their hopes and dreams on a philosophy that has absolutely nothing to do with the reality that exists within them. It's like trying to hold the ocean in your fist. They're at war with their own nature because they've been conditioned into believing that their own nature is weak and disgusting and they don't want to have anything to do with it. Well, I'm sorry you're in that position, sister, but I ain't joining you in La La Land over that. And there's no way that you're gonna make me. Right, and that's what the fellas are responding with. They may not have it in those terms in their mind because sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, but they know that they're kicking back against this BS. They are told that the very root of their future happiness and sanity depends on leftist women accepting them as viable, docile, and quote-unquote safe. In other words, leftist women... Oh yeah, and then the reason that I brought all that up, guys, is that you're hearing this talk, I mentioned it earlier, about the male loneliness epidemic. And I told you, I think that it's complete 100% projection. What you're going to find is that it's actually a female loneliness epidemic because they're being rejected and they're essentially being told you're not worth it. Another thing that the Bible mentions is that it is better to sleep on the corner tile of a roof. Now imagine sleeping, right? There's a reason. This language is poetic, but it's painting you a picture. How many of you roll around in your sleep? If you're on the corner of a roof and you roll the wrong way, you're gonna have a bad time. So you're not getting good rest. You're constantly tense and trying to make sure that you don't roll off that edge in your sleep. So you're really just kind of getting a little bit of rest. You're not entering into REM sleep. And it says it is better and more satisfying to sleep on the corner tile of a roof than it is to be stuck around a woman who is hard to be around, basically, who shrieks and complains and wails all the time. And this is what men are rejecting. They're not sitting there talking crap or anything. They're not putting the women down. They're just simply sizing everything up and being like, yeah, I don't think you're worth it. Well, think about how women work, how they work internally, how important it is to them to be accepted and to be seen as good people, and how devastating it must be for a dude to not even tell you, not even care enough or be angry or provoked enough. See, that's another thing women do. Women want a reaction, and they'll live with a negative reaction if nothing else. That's why they provoke and get under the skin and needle you. They want to know that their presence does something to trigger you. And here's these guys that they are not triggered by these women whatsoever. They're not talking smack to them. They're not yelling at them. They're not screaming at them. They look at them with glassed over eyes and say, I've got other things to do. That's devastating for a 14-year-old girl, you know? So, going on, it says I still didn't make my final point. So I think it has always been and always will be that women are the ones that are chasing, obsessing over, talking with each other about, writing songs about, plotting, planning, figuring out how to draw and entice. I don't want to say seduce here because it's not malicious, but how to entice in the area of getting a relationship started. They're highly, highly motivated in this area, and to be frank, men need them to be, because men are awful in this area, and we often do not realize how critical and important it is to our own well-being. We are totally oblivious to it. This is an area I would say guys are retarded in. We're stupid in this area to our own detriment. But the women are naturally dispositioned to really revolve around this core idea. So between the two of them, the guys do a lot better alone than the women do. And yet here they are in a system that says, if this guy's right, they are told, talking about the men, that the very root of their future happiness and sanity depends on leftist women accepting them as viable, docile, and safe. Sweetheart, you're the one who has been working for millennia. Your gender is the one that's been working for millennia on finding low-key, passive ways to entice a man to chase you. And your entire philosophy is rooted in you telling these guys that their masculinity is trash and toxic and poison, which is not enticing, and then expecting them to pursue you and bend over backwards to make you the approving authority over them as to whether they're viable, docile, and safe. Sugar, that ain't how it works. That ain't how it's ever worked, and that's not how it's ever going to work. You can hate it all you want, but it's the dudes that set the tone here. Women control access, but men control tempo. And it's the guys that set the standards on whether you're acceptable or not. That's how it's going to be. I can't pretend to say how or why that is, or even if it's fair, but them's the ropes. So, moving on, in other words, leftist women have positioned themselves as the arbiters of society by declaring they will be the people who decide what manhood should be. That's laughable. It's an interesting narrative. It is specifically designed to give progressives total power over the one thing that could destroy their socialist empire. Strong men who wake up one day and realize they are being treated unjustly and that the system does not work. Now here he pauses to provide a video clip of a United Kingdom television show. This is looks to me to be kind of like almost like a 2020 thing or a Joe Rogan thing. This is a guy who runs evidently a clearly successful show because he's got a professional setup and he's interviewing somebody. They're sitting inside of what looks like an old castle room. They're in England and it's just the two of them. It's a very simple and stark setup. You have stone walls, you have a table between them. They're sitting in hard wooden chairs. And it says right here, Ross Kemp made an entire docuseries on inceldom after watching Adolescence, and Adolescence is capitalized, so I assume that's a documentary itself or a movie maybe or something like that. This was the moment he found out. So let me make sure that you can hear this. PC audio is on. Here we go.
Incels are a misogynistic group. Effectively, they hate women. How many incels have become killers?
We'd say roughly between 7 to 15 around the world.
Sorry, how many?
Estimates typically range from between 7 to 15 incel killers, and roughly 59 people have been killed in ideologically motivated incel killings.
In the United Kingdom?
Around the world.
The dude's just staring, the interviewer is staring
Even
at
one
him
murder is
incredulously.
Even one murder is too many, of course. But inceldom doesn't appear to be the phenomenon I thought it was. It's clear that this documentary needs to take a different direction. So effectively, I have got everything wrong about incels. I think that they kill lots of girls globally and in the United Kingdom. I think they're a threat, a permanent threat to the security of this country. I think there are hundreds of thousands of them. I think that they are generally white and right-leaning. So all those preconceptions that I have are wrong.
Many of them, yes, and it's not your fault, Ross, because if you were to just pay attention to the media that is most often put out there about incels, it often espouses exactly the stereotypical depiction that you bought into at the beginning. So don't be too hard on yourself, but there is a lot of misinformation there about this topic that it's really good to appeal to the research.
So the Irish young man that he is interviewing, I thought answered really exceptionally well. He's I don't know, that guy was really, that's top-notch delivery. He's not loading anything up. He's not speaking in hostile terms. He just gave the facts and let the conclusion speak for itself, you know, and then he told the interviewer, he didn't even say to the interviewer, yeah, everything you believe is wrong, which is what I would be tempted to say, right? He instead was much more clever and said much of what you mentioned, which is rhetorically speaking, in any kind of a debate or an exchange of ideas, you usually, I know intellectually, you usually want to stay away from absolutes, and you want to give the person a little bit of an out, because in your conversation with another person, if either one of you loses respect for the other's humanity, what purpose is there to keep talking with one, right? It's what they call a conversation killer, and I'm awfully bad at it, but mentally I've had to think about this kind of stuff often enough that I think I have my head wrapped around it. And this young Irishman, whoever it is that he's interviewing, really delivered quite well there told Ross, look, I mean, it's not your fault. It's if you just listen to the mainstream media, you're having this narrative formed for you, which I have a lot of empathy for. I don't know, is it empathy or sympathy? Because I've said many of the same things. I don't hate liberals. I think that they're all hoodwinked. I think it's one of the biggest tragedies we've got because they have an awful lot to offer morally and the good work ethic and stuff, and when it comes to the pursuit of the things that they're passionate about. But more often than not, whenever I get into an argument with a liberal, none of that grace is there because I'm at war and I'm just looking to bury you. And I don't think that that's the most useful disposition. It's just, I just am honest enough to say that's how it normally comes out for me. So anyway, this whole incel thing, I remember whenever I first heard that. So it stands for involuntarily celibate. Involuntarily celibate. And once again, I think the left came up with a word that is the opposite of reality. I don't think that you have a lot of people that are involuntarily celibate. For one thing, look, you can believe what you want to believe, but I think that if you willfully believe a lie, you are putting yourself in harm's way. You are setting yourself up for some real distraughtful letdown and even harm, perhaps even physical harm. I've always said, you can lie to anybody about anything that you want to, but you can never afford to lie to yourself. You should never lie about anything. Lying is bad, but you can accept yourself. You will always pay the price for that. So you can believe what you want to believe, and I'm not going to try and change your mind over it. But if we're being perfectly honest, the women know this too. There's too much sex available. Whether you're talking about straight up paid for sex, or you're talking about simply swiping right on an app, or you're talking about women that are in bad circumstances. Look at how many girls right now from other countries that are under threat of being evicted by ICE that are scrambling to find a husband. Maybe they've even got a kid or two, and now all that consumes that woman's mind is, how do I make a better life for my kids, and what do I have to do to get there? Because she'll do anything. So a guy could be a complete nerd and not in the gym a single day of his life and be totally out of shape. And he can find a girl out there somehow, some way that will provide sex. That's the worst case scenario I can think of. So half the people that you're calling incels, you could look at them and be like, this dude is not ugly. And he's actually in shape, and he seems to be putting a future together for himself, and he doesn't fall for every trap out there and holds his own line. I think I could find a lot of women that would be attracted to that. And you're constantly seeing these reports on forums and stuff about liberal women who sort of lament the fact that all the guys that they're most attracted to are conservatives. It puts them in a bad position. Right? So if we're being honest, the proliferation and availability of sex from women for whatever purposes is way too through the roof for a true involuntarily celibate guy to exist in wide numbers. I think what you're dealing with is voluntary celibacy, but that hurts too much. They can't admit that because that points to a rejection of them, so they have to go with the incel idea, right? This is what I mean, like, women are not very strong in being able to weather the storm on things that point them out as being the bad guy. I don't really know why that is, but it seems to be fairly true when you're speaking broadly. Maybe in other areas, that's probably what it is. The more I think about it, that's most likely what it is. But gosh, when it when it comes to self-accountability or things that indict them or reflect poorly on them, they sure seem to have a real hard time with it. So incel is what they run with, but I just don't think that's the case. I think what we're dealing with is a bit of an epidemic of voluntary celibacy. Voluntary, because dudes have decided you're not worth it. And that's not good for society, right? And that's a sad case in and of itself. But moving on here, we're just about done. Female social circles tend to function on collectivist terms. The group determines membership through a series of struggle sessions and shame tests to ensure that new members submit to their control. Male groups determine membership by merit. Who is most useful, the hardest working, the most intelligent, the most able to move the group's success forward? Woke ideology is a vehicle for building a society using effeminate group structures. Most men are held back within such a system and left to rot, never fulfilling their roles because they are seen as threats to the power dynamics of the collective. According to recent surveys, Gen Z is abandoning this feminist paradigm at record pace. In 2019, the U.S., just 1/3 of Americans surveyed agreed that traditional gender roles were becoming more popular. In 2026, that number rose to 40%. So from 33% to 40%. Among Gen Z, the number spikes to 61%. Excuse me. According to recent surveys, Gen Z is abandoning this feminist paradigm at record pace. In 2019, in the U.S., just 1/3 of Americans surveyed. Okay, so just Americans in general. 33% agreed that traditional gender roles were becoming more popular. By the time we get to 26, 7 years later, that number has risen amongst the general population to 40%. And among Gen Z specifically, it spikes at 61%. That's huge. The woke media is struggling to understand what is happening and trying to figure out how they can shame Zoomer men into coming back into to the progressive fold. As Esquire magazine asks, quote, "What the hell is going on with Gen Z?" End quote. Well, they're waking up from your propaganda and your false delusions of how humanity works. That's what's going on. Both Esquire magazine, that's me talking, by the way. Returning back to the article, both Esquire magazine and the New York Times have recently lamented new data showing an unusual spike in support for traditional male-female roles in society among Gen Z males. Perhaps the most interesting data point comes from a recent survey out of King's College London, which polled a total of 23,000 adults across 29 countries worldwide. It indicates that 57% of Zoomer men agree that women's rights have gone too far, to the point that men are being discriminated against. The media, of course, acts as if this view is absurd, even though it is entirely accurate. For the past decade in the U.S., until Donald Trump's return to the White House, DEI initiatives in corporations, colleges, and within many government institutions were deliberately designed to treat straight white men as second-class citizens regardless of their qualifications. I believe that's true. Now, I don't have a direct way of knowing that, because I'm retired. But I went to college, and I heard people talking about trying to get graduate scholarships to other universities. I even heard professors talk about it, and how if you were white, that worked against you. If you got into anything that was remotely close to a competition with a few other people, you being white worked against you. The way that the calculus cut was we get more benefits either socially or through grants or whatever it is by bringing in the minority person than we do from bringing in the white male. Even a white female will get us more And then I've read testimony after testimony after testimony that it's the same exact thing when it comes to HR and hiring departments. And I think he's going to go on to talk about this, actually. He says they used to call it conspiracy theory, but numerous successful lawsuits. There's your absolute proof right there. You can't win a lawsuit without having enough evidence. You got to prove it. And some of these things are really, really difficult to prove. So it has to be overt and blatant. They used to call it conspiracy theory, but numerous successful lawsuits have been filed against these institutions after years of rigging the system against men in favor of equality of outcome over equality of opportunity. When it comes to relationships in the modern West, women have been given carte blanche through the Me Too movement to act as destructive, promiscuous, and unhinged. I don't think I've read this right. When it comes to relationships in the modern West, women have been given carte blanche through the Me Too movement to act as destructive, promiscuous, and unhinged as they please under the protection of the feminist zero accountability clause. If anything goes wrong, they can simply blame men, and for a long time, everyone was expected to automatically believe them. Yeah, I remember them days. Believe all women. Yeah. And the Me Too movement, its founders, there was a lot of hypocrisy found there. Just like with BLM, right? Everything the left does is built on lies. It really is. Lies and subterfuge. It's just all bullshit. All of it. You should eject from the left as soon as you possibly can. They are selling you a bill of goods. They are selling you right down the river. Nothing they say is true. And your life falling apart will be deemed worthy for the cause of pushing their agenda forward. They don't care. They don't care. They will praise the fact that you were a martyr for their cause, whether you meant to be or not. Esquire engages in this same refusal to question women, blaming podcasts and the male loneliness epidemic for the rise in traditional views among Gen Z. They will not consider the possibility that the trend is caused by blowback from the trespasses of militant feminist ideology. Feminists can do no wrong. Esquire notes, quote, the study doesn't get into the why of respondents' answers, but one guess is that this is the result of a generation raised on podcasts. Around every corner on the internet, members of the so-called manosphere lurk, assuring young men that their failures and setbacks are not their fault. See, they reverse it. They're projecting all of this. This is leftism, man. It does this consistently. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. They do this constantly. Around every corner on the internet, members of the so-called manosphere lurk, assuring young men that their failures and setbacks are not their fault. In fact, they are the persecuted ones. The world would be better off if women were subservient to guys. In fact, they are the persecuted ones, and the world would be better off if women were subservient to guys. Well, I don't know about the word subservient, but if women were submissive to their husbands or to male leadership in the workplace, yeah, I do think the world would be a better place. I think that's the most natural way. Look, if you're going to put together a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, you better not try to force any of these pieces together. They all connect in a certain way. And I think that if we want to build a healthy society, everybody has to be working in synergy with one another. And I don't really like the phrase know your role, but we should be symbiotic towards one another. And while I find that women are quite good at management, men are who you want in leadership positions. When it comes to, I would say, high stress, like Trump has to deal with high stress all the time. The whole world is set up against him. He has a very insidious network of people, even within his own camps, that are constantly trying to undermine him. He has to hold the line on that. I read about how Hillary Clinton reacted whenever she lost the election. That's the last person I want to have her finger next to the nuclear codes. Holy smokes. Women don't tend to be able to function under pressure as well in a lot of ways. I don't want to say in all ways, because we can start getting into different examples and stuff like that, and where I might find that women are far better at it, you know. But broadly speaking, I think that the world would be better if everybody just filled their natural role. Progress, they seem to think, has gone too far. So that was the end of the Esquire. They're talking about these quote-unquote incels. Progress, they seem to think, has gone too far. All right, the article continues. The Manosphere did nothing more than point out the inconsistencies of the feminist movement and warn about the clear social decline that feminism has caused for men and women alike. Progress for the political left requires that men continue to sacrifice for the collective while never gaining any individual benefits in return. The imbalance of society and scrambling to appease narcissistic women has radicalized an entire generation of men. Esquire notes, quote, "What's most interesting is how divided Gen Z men and Gen Z women are on gender roles and relationships, which makes a ton of sense because if you haven't heard, Gen Z women are facing a nightmare of a dating scene." Now this is Esquire talking. This is a liberal view. And they're admitting that Gen Z women are facing a nightmare of a dating scene. In an opinion piece for the New York Times, Christine Imba claims that it's not just app burnout or incels. At least no more so than in my generation. Instead, there is a fundamental disconnect between what straight young men and women want from one another. End quote. The article continues. 31% of Gen Z men now agree that a wife should always obey her husband. Wow, that's an absolute statement. Always obey her husband. Compare this to 18% of baby boomers. So what was that percentage again? 31% of Gen Z compared to 18% of baby boomers. 59% of Gen Z men say that men are expected to do too much to support equality. In every category, Gen Z greatly surpasses aging baby boomers on traditional values. Big changes are coming in the form of a masculinity-driven cultural reckoning. Perhaps it's because feminism flew too close to the sun and got burned. They got a taste of power and went insane, once again confirming the theory that women should never be in charge. No matriarchy in history has produced anything of historical or technological significance. Biology and natural law recoils at the idea of a female-centric society. Now that's a pretty incendiary paragraph. I think feminists would argue that no matriarchy in history has produced anything of historical or technological significance because they haven't been given the chance. But the statement itself seems to indicate that yes, you have had a few chances and it's never been successful. So I know that I wouldn't bet on it. I sure as hell wouldn't bet on it. Women are too wishy-washy. And their positions change on how they feel too often. Too much and too often. No way would I voluntarily put myself into that situation. I think that's dangerous. I'm not trying to wage a war. I don't have an agenda to pursue. I'm just saying if somebody offered me some sort of a prize or money or something to go live in that kind of a society, I think I would just walk away from that. Because I'm not sure I could enter into that kind of society and survive. Not just from the threat of a woman who has power over me becoming incensed, but from just the general nature of the threats that society is going to be exposed to because it's built on sand, because it's not a strong society, because it doesn't. That's a society waiting to be taken over and conquered. You know, that's what I think. So I wouldn't put myself in that situation. I think my chances of dying from some horrible thing, like machinery falling apart or a bridge collapsing or something like that, would just go through the roof. Feminists try to use scare tactics like the theory of the male loneliness epidemic as a means to frighten men back into line. However, surveys also show that by 2030, nearly half of women. I thought this was a scary statement for women. However, surveys also show that by 2030, nearly half of all women aged 25 to 44 are projected to become single and childless. I think women are staring right down the barrel of a really bleak future. But you know, need is the mother of all invention, and when that happens, I would imagine that you'll get a tone shift. You'll have a radicalization of women in the other direction out of pure need. And man, just as a man, understanding how I respond to a woman who is responding to me correctly, you will immediately. I think this is a self-correcting problem that has the potential to correct itself rapidly. The moment that women embrace the idea of, holy smokes, all this shit is false, and they start looking back in time trying to find, okay, how should I act? What kind of skills can I learn? What kind of attitude do I need to bring to the table? What behaviors and mindset do I need? And whenever they adopt that, the men will respond with indescribable amounts of love and affection. I really think it could turn out to be one of the most romantic eras in our history if that's what happens, if this statement is true. However, surveys also show by 2030, nearly half of all women 25 to 44 are projected to become single and childless. Then I think what you're looking at is, in the future, a large group of women going the opposite way, and whenever they do that and they can apply it in a way that resonates with men, I think men will respond exceptionally strongly in a positive way towards that. I think we're built to do it. I think it engenders wildfire desires to protect and affirm and take care of. It really, really flips the switch and turns us on. Like, that's... You gotta, maybe the age of chivalry will come back, man. We'll see. You can hope, right? For society's sake. The truth is, feminists no longer hold the power of social rejection. It's men who make that determination. That's what I was saying earlier. And they are walking away from the woke system. What feminists should be more concerned about is the female loneliness epidemic that is looming for them in the near future. So I wanted to read that article because of what I had said earlier that got us started on all this, and that is that the leftist ideology is imploding and dying. Trans ideology, all of these social contagions are being rejected, and that they're being rejected by the exact gender that you want to reject them, the one that's built to reject it, the one that's built to see through propaganda and kick against the bricks and shake against the leash you're trying to put on them, and the one that is the best equipped and most naturally designed to lead, and the one that the women are naturally designed to follow whenever they see leadership being done the right way. I mean, everything, absolutely everything syncs up. And that's what's happening, and I think that article kind of spoke to one element of that. We were talking about feminism here, and my thought is encompassing leftist ideology as a whole, but I was mentioning to you how a lot of leftist ideology is couched in feminist not feminist, feminine ways of thinking. It's safety conscious, it's collectivist, you know, these kinds of things. So those were some of the distinctions I was bringing up, and that reminded me of this article. But gosh, we're way over time now. This is a really long episode at 2.5 hours. So again, I'm Aesop Grimm. Thank you for coming by the channel. I hope you like what you saw. More importantly, I hope all is well in your neck of the woods, and I'll see you in the next episode where this story continues.
This place ain't no such thing as civilized. It's man, so in love with greed, he has forgotten himself and found